could be alone between city lights. We don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I'm back. It feels a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. We had a couple technical problems pop up. You would think that you go away for 2 weeks and you come back and nothing has changed, but somehow that's not true. Things change spontaneously. Is what keeps the IT department in work. But I think we got it all sorted out, and everything is going to go super smoothly. I was tempted there just to switch to the wrong camera, just as a joke. But my reflexes were too finely honed, and I automatically, without even thinking about it, hit the right camera. I'm like Tom Cruise from Maverick when it comes to running OBS. That's not even true. I'm not even as good as him at that. Oh, and Black Jungle is on it with the memes today. Black Jungle, in case you don't know, over on the Discord server is the meme lord. Sorry to anybody else on the Discord server who makes GIFs and memes, but he is at the top of the hill, and if you want to dethrone him, you're going to have to get on it making more memes. Which I know Blunty will be really happy to hear, because he is. I'm not going to say that Blunty doesn't like memes, but I'm going to say that he is selective and has standards for memes, and prefers them to be high effort. Blunty, would you say that's accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Yeah. You don't want memes just for the sake of having a meme at every story.
That's correct.
So like this
That's
one.
an accurate statement. Yeah.
I didn't know the Black Jungle's username is this dog, and I assumed the dog came from like an anime or something. But this is making me think that it's original art done by Black Jungle. Because Black Jungle, is that original art? because I can't think that anything. I can't think where you would have gotten this image of this dog except that you drew it yourself specifically for this meme. Oh, it's worse. He says he's a furry, and that's Jungle. And Jungle it's his fursona. Okay, well, I will resist the temptation to get... I'm sorry, I'm coughing tonight. That's going to be the technical difficulty. Man. I will resist the temptation to join in on the furry bashing. I think furries get a bad name. There's nothing wrong with a person wanting to dress up in a fursuit and go hang with their friends. Despite I've had to, my son he's 12 now. He just turned 12, and he's too young really to know much about who it's okay to hate in the world. That's not an invitation for the people in chat to start making lists of people it's okay to hate. Let's keep it positive. My son, who's a 12-year-old, feels that the two things it's appropriate to hate are furries. He doesn't know why. He just, it's just a trope. And the French. And he doesn't know why. It's just a trope. And there's a difference between the furries and the French. And that is that French people are real people. And you might meet one, but make fun of furries. When are you going to run into furries? Unless you stumble upon a furry convention, you're probably not going to offend anybody in real life. Oh my God, there are 2 of them on my server. Well, that says more about my server, I suppose.
I could guarantee you there's more than 2.
2 that are willing to admit it. But he's like, yeah, F the French. What have the French ever done? And I'm like, Napoleon? Baguettes? Crepes? Just to start? And he's like, okay, Napoleon was all right. Kid has never had a crepe, so. Oh, it's good to be back. We will be taking questions. That's what I do here. I take questions when I'm here. The questions are going to come fast and furious in the chat. And Blunty, who is, for these live streams, he is my call screener and producer, if you will, is going to be picking those questions and putting them in a queue for me. Putting them in a queue for me. And I will be answering them. So go ahead and ask the questions. He'll queue them up. If you want to make sure that I get your question, leave a super chat. Like this super chat from Marvin Rainwater. We'll be reading those a little later in the stream. But super chats are the only way to be sure that I read your question. Everything else is purely up to Blunty and me as to just whatever we happen to notice and think is entertaining. But we do give a little bit of preference to the people over here on the right side of the screen. This is my Discord server. And these people are my patrons. That means they subscribe to my Patreon. And as a result of that, they get, they get to be on the server, which is pretty great. But they also get slightly preferential service when it comes to reading live stream questions. So, we're going to start off with a couple questions. Joey W. wants to know, where you been? I have been in, apparently from these marks on my arm in poison ivy. I trimmed the fence line last week and mostly covered up to try to avoid the poison ivy, but apparently not completely. Okay, fair enough. I have been in Canada. I've been in Canada. In Ottawa, to be specific. I really, and I understand it's not fair to characterize an entire nation of people based on one city, but I really liked the people I met in Ottawa. They seemed to have like the right level of asshole sense of humor. Like, when I hang out with Australians, for me, they have a little too much of an asshole sense of humor. Sorry, Australians. An Australian would, like, kick you in the nuts and be like, you old bloke, or something. I'd be like, yeah, but you just kicked me in the nuts, dude. Take a joke. That's cool if you're into that. Canadians, a little down here. An American just kick you in the nuts. You know. But I really enjoyed it. But I'm back now. So I also enjoyed the exchange rate. It was a little favorable toward the dollar. So you look at a $35 meal. Go, $35 for dinner. And you go, no, it's not $35. So that was nice. That's where I've been. Okay. The first real Q&A question is from Saggy Balls, of all people. Saggy Balls wants to know, how did Bardwell and Blunty meet and get together on the Q&A in the news? And Blunty, so the earliest thing I remember, Blunty, is that you made a tutorial video, and I watched a couple of your tutorial videos, and I don't even remember which one it was. But I thought, hey, this guy and I are kind of in the same headspace, because anybody who sits down and makes tutorials, and I liked your tutorials, and that's how, the first time I sort of noticed you and thought, hey, we should work together. But I don't remember exactly how, we came to do the news or the new product roundups. What do you remember?
I remember that I made 2 tutorial videos, and I felt like they were necessary, so I made them. And then I was helping on your Discord a lot.
Yeah.
And then you messaged me and were like, hey, that's a good tutorial. You're at a desk, I'm at a desk. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to, that to me, I remember almost immediately you said, do you want to do the new product roundup? Do you want to try doing that? I feel like that was the first thing we did.
I think that's right. That feels right. I don't think I would have hit you up for the news if I didn't know we had chemistry.
No, we were doing the new product roundup, and then during that, I was also hanging out in some of the streams, and we were kind of making jokes about producers, which we ended up doing. Mm-hmm. But I just remember you always doing the news during your Q&As, and then you kept saying we need to move the news off the Q&As to another show. There's no reason to do the news in the Q&As. We should just do a show. And then after a bunch of those, we eventually said, hey, we should just do the news. So
yes. Oh, see, I don't remember a lot of these details, and I need people around me who remember them, because I'm always there. I'm always like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so that's how we came to be where we are.
Yeah.
B-Man FPV, sorry, I left Ottawa before the fires, thankfully. I hear Ottawa isn't nearly as nice as it was 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I mean, sure, it's lovely, but it's also covered in smoke. So, okay. Well, we've got a bunch of questions queued up, and we're going to start taking them. And we're going to do that for about 2 hours. Let's see here. We got a question here from the Discord server. By Avalone asks, I'm a couple of months new to FPV, and I have a small 3.5-inch drone with a 6S XT30. Can it be used with an XT60 battery just by having an adapter? And the answer to that question is yes. However, you're looking at the Darwin Baby Ape 2, which has a 6S option. Let's pull that up. Darwin Baby Ape 2, which has a 6S option. Does it have a 6S option? Really? I don't think that's true. Am I looking at the wrong thing? No. This one can't take even a 4S. It only goes up to 3S. Huh. Darwin Baby Ape 2. Okay, so I'll say what I was going to say. There are some 3-inch drones out there that have a 6S option. Some of them are Cinewhoops. There are some acro drones. I don't think there's any advantage to 6S in the 3-inch and lower size. And there's a small downside. And the downside is that if you take a battery of a given weight, okay, so say it's 100 grams, you could have an 850 milliamp hour 4S for about 100 grams, or I'm going to have to do some math here. Hold on, let me pull up a calculator. A 561 milliamp hour 6S for about 100 grams. So both of those batteries are going to have the same number of watt hours of capacity, the same rough power, but one of them is going to be at a higher voltage and a smaller milliamp hours. One's going to be a lower voltage and a higher milliamp hours. And my argument is that when you get down to the smaller cells, it becomes harder to manufacture them well. And my experience is that somewhere between about 800 and 1,000, somewhere below about 800 to 1,000 milliamp hours, the cells get worse. I don't know exactly where that dividing line is. So I would rather have 1,000 milliamp hour 4S or an 850 milliamp hour 4S than a 500 or 600 milliamp hour 6S, even though the watt hours are the same, unless I needed that higher voltage for some reason. And on these smaller motors, you really don't. The advantage of higher voltage is that you get cooler motors. That's not all there is to it, but the motor runs cooler and more efficiently. But what I've learned as I've talked with Chris Rosser and I've thought a lot about 8S motors, 8S on 5-inch props, is that there is a point where you are at a high enough voltage to get what you need out of the motor. And at that point, going to a higher voltage doesn't have any advantage. It just means you're using higher cell count batteries with smaller cells, and you don't need to do it. And for 3-inch, I don't think you need 6S at all. I'm being told that it's not this one; it's the 3.5-inch one. So let's pull that up. Let's see. 4S. Does it actually have a 6S option? I mean, my opinion is still, no, it does have a 6S option. So, on 3.5 inches with a 1504 motor, I'm still going to say my gut is that there's not really a point to running 6S on this. Like, what size battery do they recommend? Let's see. 4S 850, they don't even recommend a 6S. See? No. You're going to be looking at like a 6S 500 milliamp hour. I don't like that. I would say take the 4S. Okay? That's what I would say. Okay. Okay. No comments about that? I kind of expected there to be some comments pinned, Blunty. I guessed that the chat might have had some agreement or disagreement with me. I guess not. Let's see here. Aber the Ham. Good to see you again, Aber. Aber the Ham asks, you mentioned a while back considering a walkthrough of your shop and your organizational style. Any idea on that or just an abstract idea? I'm having an anxiety as I move into my new place about what will go where in the Tinker Zone. I mean, I could show you what I've got, but I don't know if it would actually help, Aber. That video is perpetually in the video I might make someday. But I don't know if I ever will. It's just not, I don't know. I think about it. It's that or the Odonata video, right, Aber? Miss Mirdogu. Okay. On my drone, when I cut the gas completely, the drone acts as if it's turned off and goes completely out of my control. Mirdogu, I'm going to guess that you're running Betaflight, and I'm going to guess that the reason it does that is because air mode is turned off. Now, the other question I have is, do the motors keep spinning at all? If the motors keep spinning at all, then air mode is off. If the motors stop spinning entirely, then the problem is that you've enabled the motor stop option, and you need to turn that off so it keeps flying. Okay. That are my thoughts about that. Potato Smasher wants to know my thoughts about this TBS Source 1 V5. The TBS Source 1 V5, so the Source 1 is an open source frame developed by the community, and the files are put out there by TBS that anyone can cut them or sell them. And one of the controversial, so what that means is that it's very cheap, $29.95 for the TBS version of it. But there have been a lot of iterations of it, and I think a lot of people don't feel that the V5 is their favorite iteration. It seems like with the V5, they tried to lighten the frame somewhat. And I've heard some complaints about the durability of the V5. Whereas the V3 is a little bit more of a traditional, well, old-fashioned design. But I've heard people say they feel like it's more durable. The beauty is that you can pick. And to be honest with you, at the price of $29 or $26, I think it's hard to go wrong. Like, these are not the most cutting-edge frames, but it's really nice to be able to buy a frame for an extremely inexpensive price and know that you're not, like, ripping anybody off or taking food out of anybody's mouth. The people who did the development on this frame, they did it open source and for free, with the understanding that they were contributing their work and that other people would make money off of it. They were okay with it. They wanted to do it. And so it's not like somebody cloned a frame and cut it out of cheap-ass carbon. You're basically paying for the carbon and a little bit of overhead for the store, and everybody's happy with it, and that's really good. So I would always rather see somebody buy a Source One frame instead of and I'm not going to put one on screen because I don't want to, steer traffic towards it. But instead of buying like a Chinese clone of an Impulse RC Apex, right? And look, if you've bought an Impulse RC Apex clone, I don't care. It's not like I'm going to turn my nose and say, get out of here, get out of my presence, you. Like, I'm not here to judge. If I, was a frame manufacturer, I might feel differently, but I'm not. So, whatever. But, if you can, then it's nice to be able to do that. Toasty Ghost uses a TBS Source 1 V5. What's wrong with the V4? Was the V4 the one that was not very strong? Al Max says the V5 is okay. Mark H broke a top and bottom plate on his V5, but with a failed inverted yaw spin, so maybe, everything breaks eventually. The V3, good for old individual ESCs. Yes, that's true. The Source One is 100 times better than a clone of anything. So I guess I would say this. Do some research on whether you want the V3, the V4, or the V5. I'm not actually completely up to date. Like, I actually am not sure if the V4 was the one that had durability problems, and maybe they're fixed in the V5. Do some research. I know that people say the V3 is bulletproof. Well, bulletproof. I mean, nothing's bulletproof, but... and for $25, you could do like, oh, it doesn't come with a warranty. Yeah, but you can buy 4 of them for the price of one Apex. Not bad. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do some super chats. In case you're not clear on what a super chat is, down at the bottom of the screen there is a $sign. You hit the $sign, you pay a little bit of money for preferential treatment. Welcome to America. That's how the world works, right? Every so often, I take a few minutes to just read the super chats, and then we'll go back to the regular chats. And the first super chat is from Marvin Rainwater. Thank you for a $10 super chat, Marvin. Rookie mistake, I prop chopped the balance lead. Okay, so Marvin, this is what you got to do, buddy. Get you a bag of... Oh, shit, they're spilling everywhere. Get you a bag of rubber bands. And, sorry, you shouldn't be hearing Discord notifications while I'm streaming. I apologize to everyone on the stream who just heard a Discord notification. I don't know why that happened. I hope it doesn't keep happening. Yeah, use the battery. I use it on all my batteries. I actually just bought... I'm trying an upgrade. I just bought some of these military grade, they call them. And I'm hoping, because the regular rubber bands wear out and dry out and break. And I'm hoping these military-grade ones last longer, but I haven't been using them long enough to say for sure. But that's how I save my balance lead. So that's not really what you asked, but I just wanted to point it out. I replaced my flight controller. Now it's jumpy at launch. After a minute, it gets twitchy and unflyable. I mean, that sure sounds like a flight controller problem, but you replaced the flight controller. So now I'm not sure what to tell you. Craig Roth points out you can buy bicycle inner tubes and cut them into Ranger bands. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if they would be the right size, and I didn't feel like cutting them into little strips a 1/4 inch thick or whatever. So that just sounded like a real pain in the ass. Gets twitchy and unflyable. I mean, it's theoretically possible that the ESC is making it twitchy and unflyable. That feels more like a flight controller problem, but you never know. So I'm not sure. And if you say it happens after a minute, that makes me feel like something is heating up. So that's a weird one. If you replace the flight controller and it's still jumpy, I mean, it's probably not the flight controller.
I would assume he means it's jumpy after replacing. Only.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It wasn't before that.
Oh.
Like he chopped his leads and he cooked the FC because he chopped the lead, and then he changed his FC, and now he's having this problem. That's the way I understood it. Maybe I'm incorrect.
Do you think his new flight controller just happens to be toasted? I mean, yeah. I guess that's not impossible.
Well, I don't mean toasted, but yeah, I mean, it's like something's going on. Yeah, maybe he got to be on mine. He has the wrong settings on it, or I mean, I don't know. There's 100
Why does it
things,
happen after a minute?
I don't know.
Twitchy and unflyable. Make sure nothing's touching the flight controller. Check for mechanical things. I can't think what would make it twitchy and unflyable. And that would only be happening after a minute of flight. That's a tricky one. You shouldn't have had to load the BMI gyro settings because Betaflight 4.3 automatically sets those. It's hard to know, it's hard to know why a bad gyro would only pop up after a minute of flight. Like, the only thing I can think of that changes is sometimes things heat up. Could the flight controller be heating up? I mean, in a world of infinite money, I would tell you just replace the flight controller and see if that fixes it. Garter rotor, I doubt that PID feedback would ramp up over the course of a minute. I don't think the PID loop runs on that slow of a time scale. It's an interesting thought.
He's got maybe a super overactive D-term or something, and it's heating up motors over the flight, and then the motor gets hot enough at a minute or something to fail. I don't know.
Just doesn't seem like a motor failure usually causes twitchiness. It causes you to fall out of the air. Yeah, twitchiness is usually the gyro.
Here's a question. Does it happen if you leave it on the ground for a minute?
Oh, interesting.
Does it happen if you plug in and don't arm, and then you arm? If it's jumpy, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff like that I would try to troubleshoot out, like, when is this actually happening and what is actually affecting it? Interesting.
Yeah. That's a tough one, Marvin. Hopefully we've given you some good advice to help you figure it out. Callie FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. A brand new AIO, plugged it in, just USB, works fine. As soon as I plug in LiPo, it goes into bootloader. Any ideas? Callie FPV, is anything soldered to the flight controller? Because sometimes having a GPS or a receiver soldered to one of the UARTs can kick it into bootloader. So what I would do is I would disconnect everything from the flight controller and desolder everything from the UARTs and see if it still happens. The reason it only happens on USB is that the GPS or receiver or whatever it is doesn't power up from LiPo. Only when you plug in LiPo does do the thing to the UART that kicks it into DFU mode. If you have your receiver on UART 1, some flight controllers, it will kick them into DFU mode. And the answer is, first, disconnect everything and see if that fixes it, and then put it on a different UART. Hopefully that's the answer. Black Jungle, thank you for all you do with giving memes to the chat. Also for giving a super chat of 11 reais. How do you feel on YouTube not allowing mouse wheel click on thumbnails to open videos on new tabs now? Only works on the titles. And yes, I'm ranting about frivolous things. I'm not sure that I ever used that, so I'm not sure I noticed it. But obviously, mouse wheel click should open a new window. I don't know if I ever did that. What does it do? Nothing?
Yeah, it's inside of the preview now. So because the preview's running and you can like click on the bar down at the bottom and stuff, I guess for some reason they disabled middle click. Maybe people were doing it by accident. It did work for a while, even with the previews, but now it does not.
Yeah.
So.
I don't really like those previews. They're kind of annoying because you hover on the preview and you don't hear the audio. And then when you click on the video, now you're like six seconds into the video and you haven't heard the audio for the first 6 seconds.
I'm going to tell you, I've seen an embarrassingly large amount of content in those small boxes.
What with captions?
If I don't know what they're going to say, I just watch like 10 seconds of it in the thing and then don't watch the video. It's happened quite a few times.
Well, that's really interesting. I wonder how that affects your click-through rate.
I don't know.
I bet it lowers your click-through rate, but it improves your retention because the people that click through actually know that they want to see your content. It reduces the effect of clickbait thumbnails, which is good for the users. That's
and you can even click on the bar down there. So sometimes I'll even jump to like the 30%, the Wadsworth constant or whatever they call that, and then see what's around there and then watch for 10 seconds and then not watch it.
Carbon Cage, do you hear the audio when you go to a preview? Or you do hear the audio? Oh, maybe I'm thinking of something else. Well, then do you get a view if they hover over it for 40 seconds? Does that count as a click? I don't know. YouTube analytics. Fohawks, thank you for a $10 super chat. Experienced race and freestyle builder planning a custom build for a trip to Iceland. Watch out for those volcanoes. Any special advice, particularly cold or rainy or windy or volcano-y conditions? Yeah, conformal coat everything. Oh, he is conformal coating. Great. So you don't need to conformal coat your O3. The DJI systems come about as waterproof as, unless you're going for full submersion, you don't really need to do additional waterproofing on a DJI VTX. Everything else you should probably conformal coat if it's going to be rainy and cold, especially rainy. Take the normal precautions when conformal coating. Don't put it on a barometer. Don't put it on a button. Don't put it on a plug. And, yeah. As far as wind goes, I mean, if you're doing a custom build, think really hard about the size of prop that you want. Because a larger quadcopter will be more able to fight the wind because it'll have more power. But it will also get blown around by the wind more because it has more surface area. So there's going to be a sweet spot. Like if I was going to Iceland, what I think of when I think of Iceland is not like proximity freestyle, although I'm sure there's plenty of places in Iceland to do proximity freestyle. What I think of is, flying down the fjords and up the mountains and, so I'd be leaning more towards like a 7-inch cruiser than like a 5-inch freestyle rig. I get long flight time, 12, 15, 20-minute flight time with a lightweight, maybe not too lightweight, though, because you do want it to be able to sort of, with more mass, you'll sort of cut through the wind better. Yeah. So that's the direction I'd be thinking. We got a $10 super chat from Drone Hater FPV. I have 2 Happy Model X12 AIOs on 4.4 running Bluejay with motor errors when bidirectional D-shot is enabled. Am I missing something obvious? So Drone Hater, I don't know which Ciati was here. Do you know?
I've got 2 answers. I know both the problems.
Yep. Aha!
Okay, so there's 2 problems.
You around for a reason.
One problem is if you're on 442, don't be. 442 has D-shot issues. It's both getting D-shot errors, it's having problems with the motor direction tool. So don't be on 442 if you're having errors. Switch back to 441 or 440 and make sure you're getting the errors there. If you are getting the errors there, flash to BlueJ 0.16. You can find 0.16 on the old repo, the Math.is repo, by Googling that, or you can look for Ciati's live stream, where Ciati shared that info as well. I'm not sure if he ever split it into a separate video. But the reason I say that is because later BlueJ versions seem to be okay if you tweak them on some ESCs, but otherwise they will run with desyncs or issues. I don't know that necessarily communication over DShot is a problem and errors. It's worth doing, but that's why I first suggest to go back to 440 or 441.
We talked about that BlueJ thing that Ciati brought up for the news. And I remember asking you, is this a real issue or is this just Ciati being neurotic again?
Yes.
And we thought that we weren't sure it was a real issue.
I mean, if we want to talk about it, it's both. If you flash BlueJ default and make no changes, then it can cause desyncs on later versions.
Okay.
If you tweak them and make sure they're correct, like many manufacturers have been doing, they're fine.
Interesting.
But also many manufacturers have not been doing that. I've ran into 4 different ones since we talked that I've had to have somebody flash back to 0.16 to avoid desyncs.
Okay, so it's a real issue. Because sometimes Ciati, I respect Ciati, and he's a smart person, and he often is right. But sometimes he gets a bug up his ass, and he's like, the such and such is fucked up. And it's just him who had a problem, and no one else.
I don't know that blanket flashing everything to 0.16 and risking bricking firmware and all these things are worth it.
I see.
I think if you have desyncs on later BlueJ, I think it's worth flashing back. If you don't, I don't think it is. Yeah. But like I said, I don't know that the errors are that issue. I just know there's a problem with BlueJ in some cases, so it's something to think about. But the first thing I would do, and the thing I suspect it is 442.
Okay. Well, great, Blunty. That's amazing. I did not know any of that stuff. So I really appreciate you being here. Fantastic. Well, I have nothing to add. Thank you, Black Jungle, for another 220 reais. And Distant Films wants to know, will you or Blunty be at Flight Fest? I heard FPVFC was running FPV there. Thank you for a $5, Distant Films. I unfortunately will not be there for the same reason that I will not be at Mindfield. Which is that I have a customer who hires me for a consulting gig, a training gig, twice a year. And it's been like 3 years running. And without going into too much detail, let me just say that it's too good of a job to say no to. And I have a great time doing it, and it pays really well. So basically, when they call and say, hey, here are the dates, I say, yes, sir, and I give them those dates. And unfortunately, that almost always overlaps with Mindfield, although not always. And this year, it's going to overlap with Flight Fest, so I will not be going. So unfortunately, I was really looking forward to getting to meet Josh Bixler after doing some getting a talk with him about some of the remote ID stuff and do interviews and wanting to see their airfield and stuff, but not at Flight Fest, not this year. Blunty, I know you're an FPVFC member, but I also know you don't go to a lot of events. Can I assume you're not going, or are you going to surprise me?
That's correct. I'm not going. Yeah. We'll have other members of FPVFC there, but I will not be there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody would love to meet Henry. Henry doesn't like to travel either, though.
Henry wouldn't like to meet any of you, unfortunately.
Henry is a very, very anxious dog.
Yeah, he's a rescue, and he is like he is, and we get along. But he unfortunately doesn't know he would like to meet you.
Yeah, if he got to know you, he'd probably like you, but he wouldn't like to get to know you.
Yes.
I've seen Henry cowering when there was a thunderstorm. I felt really bad.
Yeah,
poor Henry.
Unfortunately,
he's lucky to have you. Okay. So no is the answer. We won't be there. Sorry. Thanks for your super chat. BioWare Jack, thanks for $1 super chat. Did BioWare Jack have a question, Blunty? He did. Hey, Bardwell, just wanted to say thank you. My capstone for mechanical engineering was a giant 15-inch X8. My team couldn't have done it without your videos. BioWare Jack, I love to hear stories like this. I just sit here in my basement and I make videos and I put them out into the world. And, I see that thousands of people are watching them in YouTube analytics, but I don't know who those people are most of the time. And it's really gratifying to hear that the content I make is making a positive difference in someone's life. It's sometimes exciting to hear, hey, I do search and rescue and I learned to build drones from your videos, or I did my mechanical engineering project or whatever. So thank you. I always love to hear stories like that. All right, that's going to do it for the Super Chats for now. We will do another round of Super Chats before the end of the night, or maybe more, depending on how many Super Chats we get. But for now, we're going to go back to the regular chats. Ricardo Ferreira asks, are you interested in this new trend? A 2-inch or 2.5-inch Cinewhoop with O3. It's an interesting trend because once you give up the weight of a GoPro, a 2.5-inch actually flies pretty good. You're going to get more flight time off a 3 or a 3.5-inch, but it's less necessary. Whereas a 2.5-inch with even a naked GoPro is fair. You really have to, especially a 2-inch, you really have to want something that small because you're giving up a lot when you go from a 3.5-inch to a 3-inch, and then especially to a 2.5 and a 2-inch. But with an O3, you get great video. Is it on par with a GoPro? There are things a GoPro is going to do better, but I think that it's a really viable choice and is a really interesting trend. I think the O3 has really opened up a new world for, let's say, 3-inch, maybe 3.5-inch, and down to, say, the 2-inch size. Because if you wanted good video out of those things, you wanted to run a high-definition camera. And that could be a Caddx Peanut or an Insta360 Go or something like that. Or you could try to run a GoPro, but the weight was really bad. There was a lot of compromises involved. And I think with the O3, you have very, very few compromises. You get extremely high quality onboard recording, up to 4K. Not the best dynamic range, but you get the job done. And it's pretty interesting. Please tell me this is not true, Black Jungle. Please tell me this is not true. Please tell me this is just a meme and you're making this up. If it's true, my condolences. Let's see here. Alexei Balakirev. Sorry I can't donate. It's blocked in my country. No problem. Mobula 7 1S. No camera feed. Black screen. Only OSD and VTX. So if you've got black screen with OSD, that tells me that your video transmitter is working fine. The issue is between the camera and the flight controller, okay? It could be that the camera is not powered up. It could be that the camera is not sending video. So the first thing to do is to check the wires between the camera and the flight controller and make sure they are intact, undamaged, fully plugged in, and etc. What is going on with my Discord? Streamer mode is enabled. Stay safe, friend. If I reload this window, will it figure out that I'm streaming? Hopefully. No. Interesting. Blunty, can you manually enable streamer mode so Discord stops doing that?
Yes.
Oh, I can. Well, how do I do that?
If you go into settings, you have to add a keybind for it. It just takes a second, though.
I don't want to do that while I'm streaming. I'll just let everybody keep hearing my Discord notifications for now. Thank you for telling me.
I bet everyone would rather wait. Okay.
When have I ever inconvenienced myself to make other people happy? I don't want to do a keybind. Okay, hang on. The chat is really lucky to have you. Which keybind is it? Custom keybinds are not supported in the browser. It's that the browser.
Oh.
Can I just mute the browser window? Can I just mute Google Chrome entirely? Would that work? It's not broken out the separate Chrome windows. I'm going to try muting Chrome. Now, if anything stops working, that's why. Ooh, right-click tab, mute tab. Oh, thank you. Yeah, what a dumbass I am. Mute site. Oh, hallelujah. There we go. Thank you. That was the correct solution. Everyone who suggested that, you are the smart people. Sidian, I do have the Discord app, but for streaming, I use the browser because my chat plugin that picks up the chat messages can only pick up browser windows. So the ability to have Discord notifications appear on stream, it requires me to use the browser window. But muting the tab will do it. Yeah. Hey, Siati, good to see you. We had a question about the Happy Model flight controller with the Blue Jay problems, and we discussed whether you were right or just neurotic. Huh, why not both? You can scroll back if you want to see it. You probably don't need to. Tyler Harris wants to know, how do you keep the dividers in the iFlight backpack in place? Mine are weak and keep getting loose and moving out of place. I mean, my Velcro works okay. Is your Velcro old and worn out? My Velcro at probably 2+ years of use is not as strong as it once was, but it still pretty much stays where I put it. If your Velcro is getting old, I've wondered if it would make sense to ask iFlight for a new set, if I could like buy a new set of dividers with fresh Velcro. But maybe I just need to buy a new backpack. I don't know. I did buy a new backpack recently. Not with the intent of replacing my beloved iFlight backpack, but I just bought the Rotor Riot FPV backpack. I'm kind of excited about this. And for everybody out there who's like, oh, here comes some more Rotor Riot shilling. Yes, I am a Rotor Riot. Full disclosure, I am a Rotor Riot cast member. But I bought this with my own money. Okay, to be fair, Rotor Riot does give me a monthly stipend as a cast member, which is intended for me to be able to buy gear to review. It's not like a lot of money, but it's just barely enough to cover this backpack. So there's a sense in which you could argue that Rotor Riot sent me this backpack. I could have just kept that money though. I could have just kept it and not bought the backpack, spent it on something else. Anyway, now that we've got the disclosure out of the way, most whiny disclosure ever. The backpack looks pretty cool. I'm actually, like, a lot of times I look at backpacks and I go, I'm just not excited about this. It's kind of cool. It's got an interesting layout. I know Sean Morrison put a ton of work into it. That's interesting. Is the laptop sleeve inside the shoulder straps? Surely not. It doesn't seem possible. Wait, is that the laptop sleeve? Well, what's this? Oh, is that the opening? That's the opening. Show me it open. Nice padding on the back. There it is. I see. That's how it opens. My bad. I misread that. The only sort of immediate thing that jumps out to me that makes me go, I'm not sure I like that, is that the dividers, the way the dividers are laid out, reminds me of a camera bag. So we don't have the option. I like my dividers in an FPV bag to be long shelves with dividers between them, kind of like this. And I guess that's kind of what you've got, but like I can't adjust these dividers side to side. But I guess I can adjust these dividers up and down. That's interesting. It gives a little flexibility there in a way that I hadn't thought of before. I can adjust these dividers side to side. And these ones up and down. Oh, that's interesting. And then we got this space in the bottom for batteries. I assume that's what I'll put there. I like that it's got... I like that it opens from the back. But, well, no. I usually like bags that open from the front so that you don't have to lay the bag down on top of your drones. Some people are going to like that it opens from the back because it means the shoulder straps stay clean when you put it on. You're not putting it against yourself. But it does open from the back if you prefer that. I can live with it. It does annoy me to have a bunch of drones on the front of my bag and then I lay it down and it just won't lay flat because all the drones, it's laying on top of the drones. I like that it has this stretchy bungee strap as well as these clips. I find that the stretchy bungee strap gives you a lot more flexibility to just stuff anything you want on there. But the ability to have the straps to just like put one drone, it gives you that flexibility. That's nice. Anyway, I will be reviewing it. I like that the side openings are made for when the bag is laying flat. That's smart. Yeah, and I like that it has a top section for your controller. I've always thought that was a good idea, but I've kind of never thought anybody quite got it perfect. So we will see how it goes. Bobby Baggs says, I bought the Rotor Riot backpack. I think Sean did, and the guys did a great job. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they certainly put a lot of work into it. I say we'll see, like, well, we will see about that. I'll be the final judge. No, they did a great job. Kimmy Kick says, the iFlight dividers on mine are loose enough that they collapse when I put my transmitter on the top shelf. Yeah, no, that's not normal. One IFPV says, wait, they don't pay him per video? Well, I guess I opened the can of worms. Yeah, no. When I appear in videos, I also get paid for being there that day. So there is a day rate for appearing in videos. There is if you direct a video, like, so for each video, there's a person who came up with the concept for the video, and they direct the video. If you direct a video, then you get a bonus for that. For example, I am somewhat chagrined. Did they get rid of the video? Surely they didn't. Surely they didn't. Hold on, I have to find this video. Search channel, search channel, search channel. Where's the search? Oh my God, YouTube. Oh, here it is. This video, which has a whopping 14,000 views over 7 months, was my concept, and I directed it. And I got paid for it, despite the fact that it apparently sucked. And nobody liked it. I don't know. I was like, let's not try, let's just do like a kind of a crazy, old school, having a great time video. Let's just do something wacky. Apparently that did not translate into a video that got a lot of views. There you go. Stop using this as an opportunity to shit on Rotor Riot. That is what the pilot stipend that I get to buy gear for review is. That is not the totality of the compensation that people get for being Rotor Riot pilots or cast members. And I'm not interested in giving more details than that because it will just open a can of worms that people will use to shit on Rotor Riot when they don't know all the details, and that's not really what I'm all about. Yeah. Yeah. You don't get to know where the laptop sleeve is. Oh, Let's Fly RC is here. Oh, Sean, we're talking about your backpack. Your ears must have been burning. Sean says that the center divider is permanent for strength. Interesting. Maybe we'll solve that problem with the iFlight backpack has, where the dividers are weak and keep getting loose and moving out of place. No one has ever in the history of human existence been excited about a bag. You have not met my wife. My wife, sorry, couldn't resist the Borat voice, loves bags. My wife, I swear to God this is true. Hang on. So, Radio Master, this is not exactly what she has. Radio Master sent me a controller bag, and it's about this size, and it's got a Velcro divider in it, so it's a little different than this one. And she looked at it and she went, "That is amazing." And she uses it as her toiletry bag. She's like, "They should sell these." She loves bags. When I get new FPV backpacks, she looks at them and she's like, "I wish I was into FPV. These are so cool." But, so yeah, she is excited about bags. Is the goggle pocket big enough to fit the DJI V2 goggles with an analog adapter and a module? What about the V2 goggles with an analog adapter and a module on the side? By the goggle pocket, do you mean the top pocket, which I would call the controller pocket? Sean is in the chat. He could probably answer that. I will try to... Blunty, can you keep an eye out for if he answers that and pin it?
Yes.
Thank you. He says the bag is meant to sit upright until you need the stuff inside. Yeah, I know, but... And I'm not trying to, like, pick apart your baby here on the stream, so, don't, you don't have to argue with me. I don't mean to argue with you. But the way I always use a bag is, as soon as I want to get into it, I lay it down, and I open it up, and I leave it that way forever, until I lift it up, until I take it again. So, like, that's the default state for my bag. In fact, right now, you can see over, I don't know if you'll see it on camera, but over in the corner of the room, boom, there's my iFlight bag, laying on its back, pulled open, laying open. And so, like, when I tested the Pyrodrone bag, which opens from the back, I took it off, I had a bunch of drones on the front, and the very first thing I did was, I lay it down, and now it doesn't lay flat, and it wants to tip over. And I was like, I hate this. So... yeah, I haven't watched Sean's release video. I will obviously be educating myself more before I do an official review. This is just a live stream first impression. He says the pocket is expandable and all goggles fit. All right. Bobby Bag says I take the bag off, then I take the drones off, then I lay the bag down and open it. That's okay, but a lot of times I'll have like 3 drones on the back of my bag and I'll only fly one of them. And so I don't need to be taking the other 2 on and off. It's just, anyway. I'll be reviewing it. We got a question here from B-Man FPV who says, I recently built an O3 quad with the goggles V2. I didn't use WTFOS. Well, that's good because WTFOS has nothing at all to do with the O3. If you are using the O3 air unit, then WTFOS is just like in another dimension as far as you're concerned and doesn't at all relate to your experience. Okay, so setting that aside, I get the DJI OSD, that's right, because the O3 does DJI OSD natively, but I can't seem to get the Betaflight OSD. So, oh, wait. You get the DJI OSD, like the milliseconds and all the, recording indicator. Yeah, that's just the goggles. I can't get the Betaflight OSD. I tried switching PAL and NTSC. PAL and NTSC have nothing to do with digital, for the record. Here's what you have to do. The first thing you have to do is you have to identify the TX and RX wires, lines, pins that the O3 is connected to. So on your flight controller, there's going to be a DJI plug. There's going to be a plug. And like, for example, on my flight controller, the JBF7. Hello, let's do this. We have got, where is it? Where's the DJI plug? How do they split it out. Yeah. So here, that's a bad example because it's two separate plugs. But you can see the gray and the white wire from the air unit go to T1 and R1. And that means that it's connected to UART 1. And then what we need to do is we go into Betaflight Configurator, and we're going to go to the Presets tab. And why does it say 4.3 only? That doesn't make sense. I need a real flight controller. And my USB-C plug broke, so I have to get a new cable. Hold on. How about this one? USB-C. Hold on. We have to go plug in. There we go. So then we're going to... Oh, it's because I've got the wrong preset loaded. Okay, that's my fault. We're going to go here and we're going to select 4.4 as the firmware. And we're going to type... here we go. OSD for... This is what we want. So you can just type OSD to search for it. It is the OSD for FPV WTF DJI O3 Avatar HD. Okay? You're going to pick that. And then you're going to choose both of these options. And you're going to choose use DisplayPort on whatever UART you actually wired to. You could elect not to set HD OSD. That's up to you. If you set HD OSD, you also need to enable that option in your goggles, which it's a menu option. It's under display, I believe. And once you do that, then you just hit pick and save and reboot. And once you do that, it should be configured correctly. Now I'm wondering if B-Man FPV has left any more messages telling me why what I'm telling him is pointless or anything. I don't think so. Okay,
Not
great.
that I've seen.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully that information was helpful. Ian Cooper wants to know about any news on an O4 air unit. I think you're joking. They just released the O3. It's not going to be another year till they release the next whatever it is. What he really wants to know is how exciting is the future of FPV with the way things are going? What excites you the most? Well, the future of FPV, the regulatory environment means that the future of FPV is not as exciting as I wish it was. Because there are too many people who look at the laws and regulations around flying drones in general, flying RC aircraft in general, and say, I don't like this. I'm not going to get into this hobby. I think that that like I don't. On some level, I'm like, come on, guys. Nobody's following the rules anyway. Just have a good time. But I don't say that because that would be irresponsible and unprofessional and unrealistic. Some people prefer to actually follow the rules, even if the rules are stupid and no one's enforcing them. Somewhere the FAA is, oh, we're going to start enforcing them. We're coming after you first. Okay. So that's really unfortunate. And it's unfortunate because it is not that difficult to comply with the rules. It's a little annoying. And for people who know how easy it used to be when there were no rules, it's particularly annoying. But nevertheless, the real effect is that people are turned off, and that's a shame. I think that it is likely to only get harder to fly legally. I think that, yeah, and that's too bad because the things that are happening in FPV are really exciting and really fun. What excites me the most about the future of FPV? I think what excites me the most is seeing the new ways that FPV is making it possible to do things that weren't possible before. Like FPV Cinelifters is an example of an evolution in drone technology, in videography and filmography technology that is making it possible to get, cinema shots that weren't possible before, creating a new visual language for communicating with a viewer about what's happening on screen, opening up new creative possibilities. And it's really exciting to see, especially exciting to see people I know getting hired to be pilots. And to see that stuff make its way out into the world. And it's only going to, keep happening. I think I liken it to when Steadicam became a thing. And, for kids these days who don't know what a Steadicam is, it's kind of like a gimbal, but before gimbals were a thing. So a Steadicam is a rig that you wear around your shoulders and waist, and it's spring-loaded with weights so that in the same way that electronic image stabilization stabilizes the image, it stabilizes the image with physics. And Steadicams really changed the way people could film. The idea that you could handhold a shot and walk with the shot while moving around your actors and not get just a really stupid, shaky handheld shot. Like directors of photography were like, oh, there are all these interesting shots we can do now that we couldn't do before. It used to be that if you wanted a long shot, you would set up track and you would have the camera on a track and the camera would roll back through the track. And that was the only way you could get a good shot. But now you could have this Steadicam shot, right? Okay. Well, nowadays, I'm sure people still use Steadicams, but there are other technologies. There's gimbals, there's electronic image stabilization, there's all kinds of other ways to accomplish these shots. And now we have drones, FPV drones coming onto the scene, making new kinds of shots possible. It's really exciting. And I don't just mean in the cinema world, I mean in all the different ways that FPV is changing the way that people can express themselves, and create interesting content. There's a question here from Flyzone. Where's this question from Flyzone? Do you think the new Apple Vision Pro will encourage FPV manufacturers to create new FPV goggles? No. No. I don't. And Flyzone, if I sound a little, I guess I sound a little irritated. I'm not irritated at you specifically. But the Apple goggle, the Apple Vision Pro goggle is a goggle that you wear on your face with screens in it. That is the only way in which it is in any way similar or related to an FPV goggle. Will it encourage manufacturers to create new FPV? It costs $3,500. FPV hobbyists hear that an Orca costs $600 and they go, overpriced, they're ripping me off. They have no idea that the optics modules alone have a cost of like $250. I don't know if that was, 4 years ago. Maybe it's not accurate anymore. But you look at a $600 set of Orcas or Fat Shark analog goggles. Do you know that like 25% of the cost of that goggle is what they paid for the optics module? Right? Like the bill of materials cost on that goggle is probably, I don't know, $400. I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself, and now I'm making, like, I know the $250 price for the optics module was accurate. And by the way, that's for the high-end OLED module. There are cheaper ones. I know. So I'm not going to go too much further and make up numbers and get ahead of myself and say things that are inaccurate. But like the FPV market are cheap-ass bastards who don't want to pay even a reasonable amount for a product. And so why? Why would any of these manufacturers look at a $3,500 goggle from Apple and go, I think we could take some lessons from this, boys? The only FPV product that will in any way resemble the Apple VR goggles is that somewhere someone will make a rip-off clone of it that is a shitty FPV goggle that looks like the Apple goggle and maybe has like a screen on the front that shows like a video of an eyeball just to rip it, just to copy it. Except, I think that the days of people making shitty rip-off FPV goggles are also gone. I haven't seen a really crappy analog FPV goggle sold at a ridiculously inflated price in years. So, the FPV market maybe has consolidated a little bit. Like, what lessons can an FPV manufacturer take from the Apple goggle? Instead of making an analog FPV goggle, you should make a $3,500 VR goggle that your market will never buy. I don't get it. Bobby Bags asks, my new updated frame should be out soon, right? You're not allowed to see this. You're not allowed to see this. You're not allowed to see this. Oh, it looks the same. What do you mean V2? Oh. What's this screw? What's that? Oh, no. Oh, no, I've broken the embargo on my own product. It's gone to manufacturing. It is in manufacturing. I would guess another month until it is actually in stores. But I am making no promises at this point. It has been delayed so many times for so many stupid reasons that were probably completely necessary. I'm not making any promises. Hey, everybody who has cracked the X plate. Look at that X plate. That's not carbon, baby. I'm pretty excited about it. All right, let's get a few more super chats out of the way. Welton Ferreira Jr., thank you for 11 reais. I have a Mobula 7 and I want to increase the size. But I don't have a lot of places to fly. So 5-inch looks too powerful to places with people nearby. Any suggestions, or should I go with a 5-inch? You want to get a larger quad. I don't think you should be running 5-inch if you're around people and don't feel safe. I think something like a 3-inch toothpick would be perfect for you. And what I would suggest is head on over to fpvknowitall.com, my website, fpvknowitall.com, home of the ultimate FPV shopping list. And if you go to the toothpick page, we've got suggestions for toothpick parts and accessories, including some bind and flies you can get. Okay. Justin Waller says, I was just about to super chat you about your thoughts on the Rotor Riot bag. Here's $5 anyway. Thank you so much, Justin Waller. Kendrick Perkins, thank you for your help on the Radio Master Boxer. Thanks for a $2 super chat. Oh no, my comment was wasn't supposed to come across as negative. You know, I'm sorry. So thank you for the $10 super chat. I'm sorry if I'm a little sensitive to people being like super critical of the way Rotor Riot treats their pilots. I may have been a little too like hair trigger there when you commented on how much the Rotor Riot pilot stipend was, and then I took it as negative. I am a little defensive about that. I know there are some people out there who were Rotor Riot pilots in the past who have made a big public thing about their dissatisfaction with how they were treated. And I don't in any way intend to either to address that at all. That's their story to tell, and I don't really have an opinion about it. But at least not at this moment. In other words, I'm not going to open that can of worms. But I'm a little, I feel like the arrangement that I have is fair, and I don't have any complaints about it. And I'm a little... and I think that, I guess I do think that some of the criticism has been blown out of proportion. Maybe not by the people who actually experienced it, but then other people take that story and run with it and make a big thing out of it that I think is maybe out of proportion. And so I'm a little sensitive about that. All right, so thank you for the super chat. It wasn't necessary. And, no hard feelings. MD Zahid Hussein, thank you for a $5.50 Canadian super chat. I have a Flyfish RC Volador VD5 frame with the OG DJI Air units. You mentioned they aren't compatible. What are my options? The Volador, isn't there like an extended version of the Volador for the full-size Air unit? O3. Which one is the one that takes the full-size Air unit? Help me. Which does the Volador fit the full-size Air unit? No, surely not. I don't think it does. Isn't there another size of Volador that fits the full-size Air unit? Help me, chat. Guess I'm confused. I say I've reviewed so many frames lately that I'm getting them mixed up. All right. I'm not sure about that. The VD5. I don't think that fits the full-sized Air unit. I guess I'm not sure. O3 Air unit. Not compatible with a DJI. So it's not compatible. The VD5 is not compatible with the original Air unit. You will just need to get a different frame. That's the answer. I swear there's a Volador that is compatible. But I also could be misremembering and confusing it with a different frame. No. Is there any Volador? I mean, does the 6-inch fit? You're not trying to build a 6-inch, though. Why have all these frames been discounted? Well, didn't they come out with a Volador V2? I think or maybe it's just a case. So maybe they're trying to clear out the V1s, or maybe it's just a case where everything is discounted forever, and it's just a way to make their prices seem more appealing. I think your answer, MD's ahead, in short, is buy a different frame. Scott Besson, thank you for a $1 super chat. And another $1 super chat, but apparently no question. So
I think they're stickers, probably.
Oh, they're stickers. Gotcha. Thank you, Blunty. Blunty, are you there? Your voice sounded weird there for a minute.
Yep.
Oh, you're super quiet now. Is that just... Hang on. Blunty?
Hello.
I know I sound super quiet. That's weird. Do I sound normal to the chat? Wow. Oh, my headphones are messed up. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's my headphones. Oh. Finally, my headphones are dying. How about that? Wow. Oh, man. Uh-oh. Okay. I'm going to have to just hold my headphone cord like this for the whole rest of the stream. After all these years, my headphone cord is finally dying. Okay. Continuing with the questions. Droner Boner wants to know, can you show on Betaflight how to add the display for GPS speed for my DJI Air unit? I can, but wait. Do you have the original DJI Air unit or the 03? Let's see here. So if I go back to Betaflight. So in short, what you need to do is go to the OSD tab and add GPS speed right there. Boom. But I'm going to guess you've done that and that's not working. And the reason I'm going to guess why that's not working is I wonder if that's one of the OSD elements that's not supported. Yeah, here we go. Come on. Hello.
Yeah,
Hello?
I mean, he may have been confused, but he did say Goggles 2. So doesn't Goggles 2 add the OSD for the Vista Air unit?
Oh, you're right. Well, I just want to know anyway. Yeah, GPS speed is supported either way.
Oh.
So that's nice. He has the goggles too. Okay, so then you should just need to turn it on in the OSD and it should work. You got the full canvas. You should be good. Droner Boner says it's not working. So Droner Boner, in some versions of Betaflight, the GPS elements don't appear. I think Betaflight 4.4 only does this. The GPS elements don't appear until you have GPS lock, which is sort of weird because on analog and older versions of Betaflight, they would appear, they would just be zeroed out. But for some reason, Betaflight 4.4 doesn't show them at all until you get GPS lock. So that's what I would say. I'm guessing that's what's happening to you now. That you've turned it on, but you don't see it. But if you plug in your quad and you go outside and you wait till you get GPS lock, then you should have it. This is a really long question from Kickflip. Kickflip has the SpeedyBee Master 5 analog version. And you got hot motors. Nothing's fixing it. Won't even hover. It flips out, flies to the side. And the problem was that the SpeedyBee Master has this frame dampening or this flight controller dampening. Uh-huh. We'll take a look at it for those who are not caught up. It's this yellow thing here, which is, I guess it's some kind of plastic. I don't know. I don't have this frame. And it soft mounts your flight controller. This is a terrible idea. And every time I say this is a terrible idea, people in the chat line up to say, oh, what do you mean? I have one. It flies great. Cool. You're lucky. But a well-designed frame, the flight controller already has gummies for dampening. It doesn't need additional dampening. And too much dampening means that sometimes the flight controller, the gyro just doesn't work and the frame flips out. The right approach is to hard mount the screws and then have dampening gummies or some kind of thing like that on the flight controller. This is the approach that works the best most of the time. If a frame needs additional dampening to fly well, the frame is flawed. And too much dampening can cause these kind of problems. So I think this is a solution in search of a problem, and it's making more problems. And I appreciate you giving me a chance to rant about this frame again. I am not a fan of this frame. There are many interesting and good things about this frame, but there are a couple of fatal mistakes that mean that I just don't like it. Sorry, Speedy B. Replicate Reality says, I bought your drone. It's great, but too powerful. You were mean when I told you this last time. It's hard to imagine me being mean to somebody. Blunty, do you remember Replicate Reality? Was I mean to him?
Oh, I would assume this was over email or something. I don't remember this on a Q&A. So.
Oh, I guess it's probably... I want to find this email. I'm guessing it's not under Replicate Reality, though. No. I'm not going to find it. I hope I wasn't mean to you. Like, sometimes I think I might be a little bit short. How about that? Especially over email. Sometimes I have like 75 to 90 emails to answer. And I'm like, okay, I got to get through these. And so sometimes I'm a little short, which maybe comes off as mean. I'm guessing you said the drone was too powerful, and I was like, get good, scrub. You just need more stick time. Yeah, or something like that. Or maybe you asked, what to do with a powerful drone, and I said, well, that's something that will get better over time. You'll learn to deal with it. But it's hard to believe I didn't also tell you about a solution, because usually I try to give someone the solution to the question they're asking, even if so if somebody asks me, how do I solve this problem? And I think the honest answer is you just need more stick time. But I'll still tell you how to solve the problem, as well as telling you, hey, but in reality, you just need more stick time. So what you can do is you can go into the PID tuning tab, and you can go down to the rate profile, and you can go to the throttle limit %, and you can lower that to 80%, and it'll lower your drone's power basically by 80%. And that'll help you manage the power a little better. So that's what I would say you should do. Okay. Mind Slushies aerial videos says, my frame recently had a crack in the top plate after a crash. I fixed it temporarily using super glue. Okay, that's a temporary fix. But I started to notice some minute vibrations in my footage. Should I change the frame? Yes. Cracked plates can cause vibrations. And a super glue fix is a temporary fix. Yeah. I would replace that broken plate for sure. It has just been pointed out to me that on my Discord server, why in the goddamn, are my OBS scenes not working? Stream Deck, you have one effing job. You have one effing job, Stream Decks. I don't know why I said goddamn, but I'm censoring myself for effing. Don't ask me to make sense. You have one job. Oh. I'm pushing the wrong button. I'm sorry. That's me. Sorry, Stream Deck. That's my bad. It has been pointed out to me that there are no fewer than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, 4. 4 members of my Discord server whose name involves saggy balls. Why? I don't know why. There you go. Fortune Cookie wants to know, oh, thank you for a $10 super chat, Fortune Cookie. Which 1S HD system should I go with? So, I think for me, the answer is walk snail. Because the walk snail system it's almost as light as the DJI system. Now, some people are going to say, no, it's not. Hang on. There are several different, there are 2 different walk snail 1S VTXs. And I'm not even clear on the naming. So there is here we go. Come on. So there is this one, which is the Mini 1S VTX kit, which comes with a is it a 19 millimeter or 14 millimeter? It comes with this camera. It comes with a circular polarized antenna. And most importantly, the heat spreader is on the chip. Okay? Now this one is 3 or 4 grams heavier than the than the HD0 Whoop Light VTX. Okay? But then there's also the light kit, the 1S light kit. And the light kit comes with an even smaller camera. The heat spread is removed, and it has a dipole, a little mini dipole antenna. This one is almost exactly the same weight as the HD0 kit. And at that point, I think the walk snail wins. Now, there are going to be people who say, but HD0 has lower latency. Okay. Yep. If you care the most about that 3 millisecond latency, sorry, that's only with the 90 FPS camera. Okay, 6 millisecond latency. If you care the most about the lowest latency and the smoothest picture, HD0 is for you. 100%. But for me, the walk snail is going to have more usable range and penetration and better picture quality in a package that is the same weight. And for me, that's probably what I would rather fly. So there you go. Azaz Builds and Adventures. I like your question. I don't even know if Blunty queued it up. I don't think he did, but I'm going to answer it anyway. That's right. This is my show. I have just bought...
I just want to comment that it has been queued and it is up there in the queue, and you skipped it a few times.
I looked at the end of the queue because it was a repeated question. It was a repeated question, so I looked at the bottom of the queue and didn't see it. I didn't think about the fact that it was repeated and you'd already queued it. All right, okay. Points to you. I bought a heap of new cheap 6S batteries, but I only have 4S quads. How much of a throttle cut should I use? Very easy way to answer that question. what you do is you take 4S divided by 6S is 0.66. You need a 66% throttle cut to use a 4S battery on a 6S quad. Have I gone the wrong direction? Put them in a heap of new cheap 6S batteries, but I only have 4S quads. Yeah, no, that's right. You need a 66% throttle cut to bring your KV down. Yeah. That is a little bit much of a throttle cut. Throttle cuts below about 75-80% can be problematic, but that is the answer. And
Pat
661... Oh,
Pat wants to point out that it's not a throttle cut. It's a motor limit.
Yes. Good point. 661 FPV also points that out, and so we'll make that clear. In the rate profile settings of Betaflight, there is a throttle cut. I said throttle cut, but that's not what you want. So here's the throttle limit in the rate profile settings. That is not what you want. What you want is in the PID profile settings. Down here at the bottom, there is a motor output limit, and that is what you want. That is what you want. 66% motor output limit. But you may run into problems with that low of a motor output limit. You may be fine. Don't know. Let's see here. Let's clear that real quick. Daniel Harmon wants to know the best solvent to clean off grass sap. I wouldn't know because I don't clean my drones. I just use them until they get dirty and break, and then I replace the parts that are broken, and sometimes they're dirty. The only thing on my drones that I clean is the camera lens, and I do that by licking my thumb and rubbing the camera lens with my thumb, and then drying it off with my t-shirt. I am not the guy to ask questions about cleaning your drone. If the chat has a suggestion for how to clean off grass sap, feel free to leave it. Clorox wipes have done a good job. Acetone, not good for carbon, says Chris Thorney. Rubbing alcohol, but Hidden Tomato says it with a question, which makes me think that he's just sort of guessing and hasn't actually tried it. It's not really. Wax and grease removal. All right. Garter Rotor says we got a guy here that runs them through the dishwasher. Brave. Alcohol spray, 91%. Isopropyl alcohol, denatured alcohol. Carbon Cage says WD-40 for everything. Most people seem to be suggesting rubbing alcohol. I don't know if that makes it better, but it does seem to be the consensus. Nutty Brewer wants to know, I connected my HD0 goggles and my TBS Fusion. All I did was power on the module and set source in the menu and browse to R8. It works awesome, but the camera is super grainy compared to my crap EV800Ds. Is that just because I never noticed how crappy my camera is? Nutty Brewer, I don't want to presume that your goggles are not defective, but let's assume for the sake of argument that your goggles are not defective. That is exactly where my mind was going as I was reading your question. I was thinking, EV800D, little shitty low resolution screen. I'm gonna guess that you just never noticed how bad your camera is.
Wasn't there an issue with some of the HD0 firmwares and analog? Is that still a thing? I don't know what the symptoms were. Was it grain or flashing or rolling, or I don't know any of that. I'm just suggesting.
Well, the guy to ask would be Ryan Quellet, but I don't know if he's awake right now. I'll ask Ryan Quellet and see if he gets back to me. Hang on. Let me ping him and just ask if he's available. And if he says
Chat
yes,
is saying it is a thing. One eye says it's rolling, though.
Yeah, I didn't think it was, like, grainy. I thought it was issues with lag. I had an issue that was solved with a firmware where there was lag in the analog feed, like almost unflyable lag and poor connection. I didn't think there was image quality issues. Hang on one second. All right. We'll see if Ryan gets back to me.
Okay. Sounds like it's not the graininess.
Yeah. My guess is that you just have a crappy analog camera and you never noticed because you also had crappy goggles. Finally, you have good goggles and you can see how bad your camera is, but you can always try it with a better camera. Pete FPV wants to know, do you have any idea why my TBS Source 1 setup increases throttle on its own during inverted yaw spin? So, Pete, whenever you do high rate yaw maneuvers, meaning that you are like fully deflecting the yaw stick, so you're going, 500, 600 degrees per second, you will always get a net increase in torque, a net increase in thrust. And I say always. That's why I stuttered over that question some, because in the back of my brain went, never say always. There's always an exception, Joshua. So always, for some values of always, get an increase in thrust. And the reason, here's why that happens. Whenever you rotate the quadcopter, 2 motors speed up and 2 motors slow down. Think about a roll. The motors on the left slow down, the motors on the right speed up, and the result is that the quadcopter rotates around one axis. But imagine that the motors on the left didn't slow down quite as much as the motors on the right sped up. The result would be, instead of getting an axial roll, you would get a spiraling maneuver, okay? So there has to be a balance between the down spinning motors and the up spinning motors so that you get a net zero rotation, okay? Now, on the yaw axis, if you think about it, when we yaw, if 2 of the motors speed up and 2 of the motors slow down, and the down spinning motors don't spin down as fast as the up spinning motors spin up, we will get a net increase in torque. I keep saying torque. I don't know why. We'll get a net increase in thrust so that as the quadcopter yaws, it will also climb. Now, this was a much bigger problem when... This was a much bigger... Oh, interesting. This was a much bigger problem before ESCs had braking. Because before ESCs had braking, when you spun a motor down, it was just drag on the prop that caused the motor to decelerate, and that was not very fast. With modern ESCs, they have braking, and that means that the ESC can use electrical characteristics of the ESC and the FETs to cause the motor to actively brake and decelerate, to cause resistance to the motor, which makes it slow down faster. But it's still not as fast as you can spin a motor up. So modern motors with modern ESCs decelerate slower than they accelerate. And that means that whenever you do a yaw spin, there will always be a net increase in thrust, and the quad will tend to climb. Now, this is a very small effect. And by the way, it's also true when you do roll and pitch moves, but the difference is that it's less noticeable, because like, instead of rotating exactly about your rotational axis, you're slightly spiraling, but you kind of don't notice it because the motors don't go to zero anyway, so you've always got a little bit of a spiral in your rolls. And there's up tilt in the camera, which kind of makes the quad look like it's spiraling anyway. And when you do a flip, when you do a front flip, instead of doing a perfectly axial front flip, you like slightly move forward, but you hardly notice. But when you do a yaw spin and you climb, you really notice it. And it's even worse when you're inverted because the quadcopter already wants to fall down. So now when you do the yaw spin, the quadcopter gets pulled to the ground. So the number one way to prevent that is to yaw slower. So potentially you have too high of a yaw rate. If you're at 800, 900 degrees per second of yaw, if you just hover flat and just jam the stick and do a full spin, you'll notice the quad will tend to climb. I think that's what you'll see. So you just notice it more when you're doing inverted yaw spins because you're kind of already falling to the ground. So number one, don't have an ultra high yaw rate. Or if you do have a high yaw rate, don't go to full stick. And number two, this is a really good suggestion from 61 FPV, is that you punch, and as you're climbing, you do the inverted yaw spin before you start falling down. So if you're just learning inverted yaw spins, your inverted yaw spins might be punch, flip over, oh, now I'll do the yaw spin, and it's too late. You're already falling. So you may need to do it sooner in the move with more punch up. When did ESCs gain braking? I would guess that at least BL Heli S, all ESCs had braking. I remember back when we were using Simon K ESCs, and active braking was a thing you could enable on some ESCs in some firmwares. I'm pretty sure that BL Heli S had all BL Heli S ESCs had braking, and maybe all BL Heli ESCs, but I'm not sure. Excuse me. Oh. Apologize for the, I went camping this weekend, and now I might have a little bit of a cold. I don't know if it was because I went camping, but come back from camping, you have the sniffles. What frame is that? Oh, the frame looks so good. It is the QAVS V2 that will be in stores in not too long now. Oh. What do we got here? Ooh, not a lot of room to mess that up. But did you also notice it was not actually super fast? It feels fast because you know he was upside down the whole time and you were worried about him crashing. It's not really an ultra high yaw rate. And I think you'll see that that's true a lot of the time. Let's take a couple more super chats before we finish up for the night. Matt Sanders can confirm, I don't clean my quads. I bought some Tennessee mud. Thank you for $5, Matt Sanders. And Focus FPV is trying to get more folks into the sport or hobby. Can you run liftoff on M1 or M2 based Max? Thank you for $5. I don't know much about Max, but we can go to the Liftoff Steam page, and they'll probably say what is supported, I would hope.
I can tell you Velocidrone does.
Velocidrone does.
Because it was a whole thing, I think. Ashley was saying it was kind of a whole big deal to get them working on M1 Max.
Oh. So it says here, system requirements, Mac OS. Sierra? Big Sur or newer? Apple
like
Silicon
M1?
Systems M1 Pro processor. It doesn't
So it's not clear
say
if it supports
M2.
M2. Yeah. It's
It
like a
does say
recommended
M1.
spec, but it's like, is that
So if
because it's lower than you need, or is it because they don't support M2, right?
Well, I don't know. Is every M2 is every M1 also supported on M2, or are they
I don't think
distinct?
so. And maybe that might be true, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, it runs on M1 Pro. We know that. It doesn't say M2, but we don't know enough about Max to know whether M1 implies M2. Can anybody confirm that?
Chat says most
RT
stuff
McKinney,
will
yeah.
run on M2.
Ellen Campbell has a great point. Steam will let you refund just about any game, not DLCs, but games, with under 2 hours of playtime or 30 days, whichever comes first. So there's literally no risk to you just buying it, downloading it, and if it doesn't run, immediately refund it.
Steam also just added a new trial system. I don't know if these sims will actually pick it up, but there's a new thing now where games can let you try the game for an hour or two, like the full version, and just automatically trial you, so you can have like the refund without needing to refund. So that'd be nice to see that. They're 90-minute trial.
Okay, great. People are saying that M2 is just a newer, faster M1. So, yeah, it sounds like it will work. No, but RT McKinney says it depends on which M2 you have. Okay. Alrighty. Those are the rest of the super chats. Let's take a few more questions. We got this one from Dana Schlund. I want to buy the Radiomaster Boxer with the TBS Crossfire module. Should I take the Express LRS, the 4-in-1, or the CC2500 version? And what's the difference between FCC and LBT? FCC versus LBT is relevant for the 4-in-1. No. The 4-in-1 module can do both FCC and LBT. So it must be just the CC2500 version.
I think it's just how you order it. Because you can flash, like Express LRS, you buy the same way, I believe, but you can flash it to either one. I think it's just how you get it sent to you.
But 4-in-1 modules, you can just change the region by changing the sub-protocol.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the Express LRS choice, but I may be wrong.
All right, let's look.
Yeah.
Let's look at the Radiomaster Boxer. If I go to 4-in-1, no, you can pick the region for all of them.
Oh, interesting.
And FCC versus LBT doesn't matter for ELRS because ELRS uses 2.4 gigahertz.
But it
no,
still
that's
has
not
LBT.
true.
You just flash the one you want. Yeah.
But okay, all right, okay, you're right. That's weird. So FCC is basically anywhere in the world that isn't Europe, and LBT is Europe. Europe has some restrictions in the 2.4 gigahertz band that the LBT option will make you compliant with. I think that doesn't matter at all for the 4-in-1 module because the 4-in-1 module supports multiple protocols, and you can change whether it's using FCC or LBT just by changing an option in the menu. The CC2500 will only support FreeSky protocol. That's not true. I think it also supports Futaba. Does it support FlySky?
I'm pretty sure, from what I'm seeing here, there's a 4-in-1 module firmware that is only LBT. So, like, I think there is a firmware difference. Like, I think you can.
You mean they lock you out of the
LBT?
They lock you out of the FCC options. I only think it does both because I have the FCC one, which gives you both.
Right.
You could just get the FCC one. It doesn't matter. I mean, you would be breaking the law. So
yeah, that I can find. I found that now on Radiomaster's website. The EU LBT version is limited to only the LBT compliant protocol.
Yeah, but you could just reflash it.
But you just flash it. Yeah.
Okay. So CC2500 will only bind basically to FreeSky receivers. There are a few others that it will bind to, but they're not as popular. So most people buying the CC2500 would be buying it because they intend to use it with a FreeSky receiver. 4-in-1 can bind to many different receivers. FreeSky, FlySky, Spectrum, etc. But it will not do any of the modern high-performance control links like Crossfire, Express LRS, and Ghost. And then Express LRS, of course, is a modern high-performance control link. If you're already buying Crossfire, then you may not be that interested in Express LRS. I don't know, maybe you just like to try different things. But Crossfire and Express LRS sort of fit in the same place in terms of why you would pick one versus the other. There are some technical differences between them, but they are both a modern long-range high-performance control link. So some people would say that if you're getting Crossfire as your external module, then you get the 4-in-1 as your internal module. And if there are any like bind and fly quadcopters that have a FrSky receiver in them, you can bind to them. My opinion would be that you just buy the Express LRS and you just put Express LRS in everything and you don't buy the Crossfire at all. But, so not everybody agrees with me, and some people like Crossfire for various reasons. I would take the Express LRS. I am just done with FrSky receivers. If you show me a bind and fly and it only has a FrSky receiver in it, I guess I'm not going to fly it. Sorry. Get with the times. Get with the times. But not everybody has that luxury. I mean, these days, you're more likely to buy a Tiny Whoop that has Express LRS in it than a Tiny Whoop that has a FrSky receiver in it, frankly. Chris Riley. Very interesting question from Chris Riley. I fly 4S lipos and kill them because I fly 3D on normal props by flipping 2 of them, so I have reduced power and have to fly around at almost full throttle all the time. Will 6S help? No. Watching your damn battery voltage and landing before you kill your battery will help. Stop blaming your props. Lots of people fly at full throttle all the time and don't kill their batteries. You have to just land sooner, Chris. You have to stop having a good time and notice when that little battery warning starts flashing and saying you're at 3.3 volts. And then you stop, you lower the throttle, you flip back over so you're right side up, and you bring it home. And you take that battery off and you say, good boy. And you put it down. And you put a new battery on. And you say, take it. And you send it. Or you get some 3D props, Or you could do that. No, I mean, I don't think 6S will help a lot because that's not actually your problem. It might help a little, but you need to fix the real problem, which is you. And your inability to stop just destroying your batteries because you like flying too much. Gregory Hurst says, 3 months from now, I once asked about 4S batteries and you were mean. And then I'm like, I don't think I was mean. I'm not usually mean to people. Hopefully it was meant humorously, right? That came through, right? I wasn't really being mean. I was just Blunty. Siani wants to know, who can guess how much less thrust non-3D props have when spun backwards? How much less, Siani?
My guess would be like 10 to 20%, maybe even less than that. Because people can fly with their props upside down, but it's very loud and they don't get very far.
Yeah. We're going to find out. Siani's going to tell us. Maybe he's going to tell us. Maybe he's going to troll us.
True.
All right, we'll have to wait. He doesn't flip 2 of his props one AFPV. He's just saying, did he? He didn't flip 2 of his props. Wait.
That's what he said. That is what he said.
Oh. What the fuck? How did I miss that? I'm sorry. We have to go back. Oh my God. What are you doing? How did I miss that? No, you don't do... That's not what you do. Chris Riley. Oh my God, I've never heard of that. I can't tell if that's stupid or brilliant. So the normal problem is that when you flip props upside down, they make a whole lot less thrust. So if you're flying 3D on regular props, when you flip upside down, you have to run at a much higher throttle position. But if you flip 2 of the props upside down, then you have half lots of thrust and half no thrust all of the time. But what that means is, no, this is a terrible idea.
People in
Because
the chat are saying Zoe FPV recommended this, and somebody else says this was an old Zoe FPV joke to flip props. So I don't know.
it was an
if
old
that's a thing.
joke. It has to be a joke because what it means is that when you're right side up, you are constantly limited by the least powerful of your motors. So if you have 2 props upside down and 2 right side up, then when you are right side up, Ciati says 30% of the thrust is what they make. So you have 70% less thrust. What it means is that when you're right side up, you have 30% thrust. 2 of your motors are running flat out. 2 of your motors are running at 30%. And then when you flip upside down, the same thing is happening. Normally, the way it works is when you're right side up, you have 100% thrust and everything is great. And every so often you flip upside down and do a 3D move and then you flip right side up again. The thing is, if you spend at least 50% of your time upside down, then it might make sense to flip your props. But it might make sense to get some 3D props and not have this problem. You need 3D props, dude.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. Success is not going to help compared to buying the correct props and running them in the correct way.
Wow, Chris. You need 3D props, dude. If you really are upside down that much, you just need 3D props. Alrighty. Well, that was a real roller coaster. Thank you, Chris, for taking us on that roller coaster. And that is going to do it for the stream. That's going to take us to the end of the stream. It is 10 p.m. Aaron Ciati is going to be streaming, and he's posting the link in his stream, in the chat, rather. And you can go check that out. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you tomorrow for the FPV news. And I'll see you there too, Blunty. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take it easy, guys.